In this video, we're going to review another advanced method for checking your control points that is a combination of stationing on two control points that you know to be accurate, and then doing an as-built of all the other ones. This allows you to check all of your control points based off only the ones that are accurate. And let me show you what I mean. In my drawing, let's assume that I know that point 2 and point 1 are accurate. All the other ones I'm a little bit unsure about. I know that they are indicating that they're located at this location on the CAD, but I'm not sure if they're truly in the right spot. So I'm going to station on number 2 and number 1, and then I'm going to use the measure and record function to measure in the exact locations of where these are in the field, and I'm going to compare their differences to see which ones might be off. So let's begin. I'm going to start by going to point 2 and measuring that control point. And now I'm going to go to point 1 and measure this control point. As I expected, I have a pretty darn accurate stationing, and even if I want to check before I continue, I will make sure that everything is essentially zeroed out. So now I'm going to go ahead and measure the other control points exactly where they were. So before I go on, I'm going to accept my stationing all the way through. I'm going to go to the measure and record function, and I'm going to go ahead and measure these in as measured points, and I'll just go ahead and keep them called the default MP1. So I'm going to now measure 5, 4, and 3 and see where they fall on my CAD. So I just finished measuring 0.5, and I'll go ahead and zoom in, and I'll observe that yes, there is a slight deviation, and I'm going to scroll down from the top window here, and I'm going to go to Kogo, and let me just check that before I move on. There's a 3/16 difference between where I'm finding it in the field and where it's located in the CAD. Let me move on to the next point. I have it pointing at the prism where control point 4 should be. Let me measure that location. And now again, I'll zoom in. There is a slight deviation, but the deviation is 0, essentially 0, which means that I had to zoom in very, very far to get to that. So I'm going to be okay with that one. I'm going to assume that that one's actually accurate, and I'll probably even use it in my next stationing. So now let me move on to point 3. So I turn my total station to point 3, and before I even measure it, I can tell that the crosshairs are not going to line up. So I'm already getting the inkling that this one's completely off, but I'm going to measure it anyway and measure that distance. I'm getting a 5 and 7/16 inch difference on that control point. So clearly my control point 3 is the incorrect control point out of this. So what I'm going to do, because I'm confident, I assume that point number 2, point number 1, and point number 4 are all correct. Point number 5 is slightly off by a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch, so I might use that one. But if I need to use 3 control points, I know I should be good using 1, 2, and 4. 3 I know is completely off and I should not rely on it, and I might be okay using 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restation on point 1, 2, and 4, and I'm going to remeasure point 5 and point 3 to see if I line up in the same way. And if I do, I should know that my stationing is good. So here you can see that I've made my stationing on points 1, 2, and 4. I'm going to press the green check mark, and it does basically zero out. I have a slight 16th deviation on one of the points, but I'm okay to accept that. And I'm going to go ahead and say check. Right now I'm looking at where I know control point 3 should be. I'm going to go ahead and measure that, and let's compare how this results from the other measured point that we made earlier. And I'm zooming very far in, and you can see MP3 was the original points I made on the 2-point stationing, and MP4 is the one I just made, and let's see if there's any difference between the two. 1/16 of an inch horizontally. I'm willing to accept that and assume that point number 4 is indeed a good control point to add to my stationing. Now let's observe what happens with control point 5 and see if we get similar results. I've zoomed in very far, and now let's go ahead and check it. MP1 to MP5, 0 deviation. I had to zoom in so far, and it's telling me that the distance between those is less than 1/16 of an inch. So again, because of this, I'm willing to accept point number 4, the one I added to my control points, the second time for stationing, is a good stationing point to use. So I encourage you to use this method on your own job site to observe your control points, station from the ones that you know are accurate, do an as-built, add control points for those that you think are accurate, do another as-built, and see how it's changing the point locations, and see if you're okay to accept it.